Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely stream deck. For more information about the stream deck, the link is in the description below.
Hello everyone and welcome to Apex Online Racing Formula 1 action. We are here today in Baku for round number 4 for the PC European F1 Championship. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix is brought to you by our sponsors, Elgato, SIMSOK, and Driver 61. I am Fizzymon and I'll be your host today, and alongside me as always is Benikage. Benny, how are you feeling about today's race?
Excited. I absolutely love this track. I'm not a huge fan of tracks that are real tight like Monaco, and this one kind of tends to lend its reputation as the same, but it's still so much fun.
Yeah, it is a very fun one indeed. Now, of course, before we get into the action on track, as the drivers start to get into the lobbies momentarily, we're going to go into our new segment showing off the driver standings for almost all the tiers. We'll get to that in just a moment. But now we're going to go ahead and take a look at our current Tier 1 standings. As you can see, we have a new championship leader, Ripson, who came home with the victory in Monaco, has now taken the top spot in the championship for the time being. He has overtaken Jan Fehler up at the top after an absolutely fantastic performance by Ripson, the rookie driver, who's actually, it says he's a reserve driver, but I do have some news for us. He is now on the full-time grid, Benny. Him and Sarah Broughton were both given full-time positions. Ripson is currently taking over, I believe, the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
And Sarah Broughton is in the Aston Martin. So congratulations to those drivers. How are you thinking? Do you think this will possibly bring the team championship a little bit closer? I mean, the reserves are obviously going to fall off a decent amount, but how do you think this will affect that battle?
I'm big sad the reserves are going to fall off a little bit, actually. But I actually think this gives a big play to McLaren because Jan's done very well. And the Aston Martin and the Alfa Romeo are not teams that are particularly high up there in the standings. I mean, the Aston Martin is 8th, the Alfa Romeo is 9th. So it's going to be a lot of catch-up for Ripson and Sarah Broughton if they want to take away Constructors. So big advantage to McLaren in the Constructors Championship, I think.
Yes, I do agree. Also, we've had 3 race victories so far this season by 3 different drivers. Ripson, Jan Fehler, Sarah Broughton. Will we go 4 for 4, or will we see someone get their second win of the season? We'll have to wait and see what the action brings once we get to the streets of Baku. Now, our F2 results are not here because, as if you remember, we do have a stream for the F2 series. It's over on the YouTube channel, so if you want to get more information on how that series is going on, go ahead, pull up the stream and take a look, and they will certainly give you a little bit more information. But looking at the constructors now, McLaren is the lead constructor with Alpine only 10 points behind. Now, Alpine, interestingly enough, does not have a driver in the top 5. They have Kev Genetics in 6th and Field Racing Seb in 10th. So they've done pretty good so far, even though neither driver has had exceptionally strong performances. Top of 5th place, best finish for both the drivers. We'll see what they can do this week now in Baku. Now, like I said, F2 is not here, but Benny will guide us through F3.
F3, Creepy Drive remains at the top. Another podium finish for him. He won to start the season. He's got 2 second places. He is 30 points clear of Scrog. U7 is in 3rd. Just 2 points back of him. Just 3 points back as Mr. Joshua. And 1 point back of him is Kanaku. But that's a 3-way tie for 25 points, actually. It is Kanaku, Molchian, and Herman, who are all on 25. In the constructors, Aston Martin leads the way, 67 points. They're 11 ahead of Alfa Romeo. It's the complete opposite of Tier 1. Haas is in 3rd on 37. Williams just a point back, and Scuderia Ferrari just 2 back of them.
Now, normally we'd be going ahead and taking a look at the Tier 4 championship. However, unfortunately, we do not have the Tier 4 results for you after last week. So these are the same standings we saw last week. Now, hopefully we'll get them to you guys sooner. But there's unfortunately, we'll let you guys know next week about the results from Monaco and Baku for Tier 4, so stay tuned on that one. Now we're going to go ahead and look at Tier number 5. Victor Waza up front with 55 points, but only 2 points ahead of Cini in the only 4 points ahead of Cini in the Williams. Very close battle brewing as Cini did not show for the first race, but then he has got back-to-back victories on his record. So can he go 3 for 3 with a win in Baku? We'll have to wait and see. Dak Attack in third with another third-place finish, and Tom JD in fourth in the Haas. Now over in the Constructors, Ferrari has a 12-point advantage over Williams, so nice little buffer right now, but Williams being led by Cini and carried more like by Cini is on the charge right now, so we'll have to see what they can do. Benny, F6.
F6, RF Gangster at the top, third place for Monaco. So he's got all steps of the podium to start the season. He's at 60 points, 18 ahead of Lucio, who has the 2 second places, coming on strong after a 7th place Bahrain. Boxer Frog DNF'd over in Bahrain, but he did get 2 podiums, so he's only a point back of him. Urti is in 4th on 26 points, just a point ahead of Skady. In the Constructors, Mercedes leads the way, 66 points. Alfa Romeo on 60, just 6 back of them, as well as Haas on 54. Then a very large gap, doubled up over AlphaTauri, who was on 27, just a point ahead of the Williams on 26 and 5th.
All right, now over to F7. Afra XD currently up front. He's got 12-point advantage, the German driver in the Red Bull over Josiah, the Finnish driver in the McLaren. Now, Afra has been on the podium all 3 events with 2 first-place finishes and then 3rd place in Monaco, while Josiah was able to come up a little bit stronger in Monaco with a race victory, but still 12 points behind. Next in 3rd is Ham AD in the Haas, followed by Steve and Flair Star. Now, over the Constructors, Red Bull leading the way, being carried by Afra, but McLaren right there, 4 points behind, with Haas only 12 behind. So do not sleep on McLaren and Haas in our F7 championship. Now we're going to go ahead and advance to AL1. How are they looking, Benny?
At the top of the assist leagues, Avi leads the way, 48 points via countback over Froxer, who is level on that 48. Just 4 ahead is, or just 4 behind, I should say, is McBurk. Or McBlurk, I should say. Tom is on 42, so he's just 2 points back. And then there is a large gap back to Karnaku. So real tight at the top between those top 4. In the Constructors, not as much of competitiveness. Scuderia Ferrari is 71 at the top. They are led 22 points over McLaren, who is just a point ahead of Mercedes, who is only 4 ahead of AlphaTauri. But then there's another gap, 18th worth, to Aston Martin in 5th.
Now over to AL2. We have on top Ahoy Brous in the Williams, currently on top with 43 points, but only on top by 1 point. He gained 4 positions, an absolutely mighty climb up the leaderboard, up into 1st with a very small lead over Ted in the Aston Martin. In 3rd is Beyond in the McLaren with 36 points, followed by Scorp in 4th and Lutton in 5th. Now both Lutton and Scorp both have race victories. And then the other race victory is to P6 in the championship. So right now the top 3 in the championship do not have a race victory. They do all have at least 1 podium, but it's very interesting to see how these guys are very tight up the top, all battling it out. Very close battling here. Aston Martin, meanwhile, actually, I believe that Constructors Championship is a little outdated. Aston Martin is leading the way with 67 points. McLaren has 61 in second, only 6 points back, followed up by Williams in 3rd. That is AL2. Now AL3, over to Benny.
AL3, Catalini is in the lead, 57 points, 3 podiums, including a win in Bahrain. Deadeye is 10 back, and then it's 16 more back to Kushti, who is only a point ahead of Delta in 4th, who's 5 ahead of Wright. So pretty close between 3rd and 5th, but there are considerable gaps between that top 3. Over in the Constructors, McLaren leads the way, 82 points. Aston Martin has 59. They're 23 back. Alfa Romeo is 17 back at them on 42. Williams is another 9 adrift on 33. And Haas is on 22 in 5th. Over to Tier 4 now.
AL4 is led by Mercedes and Charles Leclerc with a 13-point gap over FSN Archer. Metza in 3rd in the Haas, and then Master Rich up 6 points, or 6 positions, excuse me, in the Alpine after getting a nice Monaco race victory up into 4th. Kozine in 5th in his other Mercedes. Now Mercedes leading the way in the Constructors. They took the lead from Aston and pulled away. 20 points is their lead over Aston, with another 18 behind is AlphaTauri. So Mercedes starting to lay down the hammer in AL4. And for the last tier of assist leagues, Benny?
Oh, I've closed the tab by accident. For Tier 5, it is Bullet Rider who is leading the way. 48 points for him. Scorto is 12 back on 36. Wixel is another 9 back on 27. Just 2 ahead of White Wolf and then 1 ahead of Idiom. So very tight there for the top 5, at least between 2nd and 5th. And the Constructors, Alpine leads the way, 61 points. Alfa Romeo, 14 back on 47, and then 6 ahead of McLaren, who is in 3rd. Scuderia Ferrari, 12 back in 4th on 29, who are just 2 points ahead of their sister team, AlphaTauri, in 5th.
Now, normally we'd be showing the Xbox standings right now, but on the screen we have the PlayStation PS1 standings. Now, the reason we're not showing the Xbox standings is because the Xbox League has their own live stream. It's an unofficial one on Twitch. You can go ahead and look up AndyT9897. That is AndyT9897. I will plug that into the chat really quick momentarily. That is the Xbox League Championship, where you can go find more information about how they're doing over there. We'll let them take it away, and they can describe it much better than we can. But over in PlayStation Tier 1, TRM Victor leading the way right now in his Williams. He's got a 1st and a 2nd place to his name, 43 points to his name. Gab Z26 in 2nd, only 6 points behind in his Alfa Romeo after winning in Monaco. And TRM Moy in 3rd, 33 points. So it's pretty close towards the top of PS4 tier number 1, with AlphaTauri leading the way. A little bit farther of a gap there over Red Bull. 62 to 48 is the difference, with Williams being another 5 points behind Red Bull. How's tier 2 looking, Benny?
Now, Andre Ivan, the Romanian, is in the lead. He's on 44 points, but he's only 3 ahead of Elysium, who is only 2 ahead of Super Chessie. So you talk about tight at the top. Couldn't get much tighter than this. In fact, it is Rob in 4th on 35 points. He's just 4 drift. Then it's finally a gap, 16 points, I should say, back to iJoker. So all the top 3 of the top 4 have wins, and all of them have at least 1 podium, 2 of them with a double podium. So in the Constructors, Williams leads the way, 47 points. They're 3 ahead of Red Bull Racing. Alfa Romeo 5 back. McLaren is only 2 back of them, and then AlphaTauri in 5th on 33.
Now, before we go into tier number 3, the drivers are currently getting their carts in the garage and ready to go, so we'll keep this moving now. In tier number 3, we have a McLaren 1-2 with Ziogia, 44 points, 1 point ahead of his teammate Mika Sir, with No Mercy in the 3rd in the Alfa Romeo, and then the Mercedes pair at 4th and 5th, tied on 30 points. McLaren leading the way as expected with 87 points over that Mercedes duo, 27 points behind. But 3 different race victories, or race winners in 3 races. I think we're going to get a lot more action here in the main Tier 3 league. Now over to the main assist league over for PlayStation, Benny.
Yes, Dark, Mafia, and Gobert Limitless are all in a 3-way tie on 44 points. And they all, at least Dark and Mafia, are literally level on countback as well. Gobert would be in 3rd, so then it's Ben on 36 points and McAlooey on 28. Over in the Constructors, Mercedes leads the way, 88, only 8 ahead of McLaren on 80, but then it's a 51-point gap back to AlphaTauri, who's only a point ahead of Alpine and 2 ahead of the Williams.
Now for tier number 2 of the assist leads of PlayStation, we have Team GGD Ben J, 12 points ahead of Breezy Blackout in his Ferrari, leading the way also over Multi-Rapsi and Zayat in the McLaren duo, rising up the championship standings, but not as much as Rickard 420 in the Haas, up 8 positions, up to 5th place with 27 points. Now McLaren leading the way by that duo, currently 12 points adrift of Aston Martin and Ferrari. So Constructors battle starting to tighten up here in Tier 2 on the assist leagues. And for the final tier, Benny, PlayStation 4 Tier 3.
Yeah, PlayStation 4 Tier 3. Levelat leads the way with 2 second places. He hasn't won a race yet, but he leads the championship by 6 points over Deadfly Biscuit. FRF Clans is going to be in 3rd place with 34 points. Anyway, up is 4 back of him. He hasn't podium out, and he's in 4th place. And then 5th place is the first of 3 race winners, 5th, 6th, and 7th, all winning, but it's Hazard in 5th with 29 points. Over in the team standings, Ferrari 49 points. They're 4 ahead of the Williams on 45, who are just 6 ahead of the Aston Martin on 39. Red Bull's up there as well. 35 points, just 4 back from the Aston Martin and 6 ahead of the AlphaTauri in 5th.
All right, that's how we're looking at. Now the drivers are out on track as qualifying has begun. It is going to be a dry qualifying, and guess what? A dry race, Benny. So these drivers are going to be doing everything they can right now to really push to the max on these laps, as everything is pivotal here. We'll go ahead and take a look now riding on board with TRL Minty, who is at the back of a queue. What are your thoughts on today, Benny? Who do you think is gonna, well, who do you think is gonna be on pole? Because I think I know who I'm gonna vote for.
I'm going to vote for Jan Fehler because I think he's had really good pace. You know, Monaco was a bit of a anomaly because you remember we had that absolutely drenched qualifying session in Monaco. So I think, you know, Jan Fehler, I'm going to give him the favorites for the pole, but definitely look out for Ripsy. He's got a full-time seat. He doesn't have to worry about being a reserve driver anymore. If he's going to be able to race each race, he can just focus on the task at hand. So I think it's going to be Jan and Ripson for 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think Jan and Ripson is a very good battle. Ripson, the new championship leader, like we mentioned, in the Alfa Romeo now, looking to do pretty good. But he's in the pits right now, waiting to go out on track. Jan Fehler is out on track, but leading the way right now is Goat Tudor. Good to have Tudor back on the grid. Him and Richie B. It's the first time we actually see the two Haas drivers together in the full lineup. We have a yellow flag in Sector 3 as drivers slow up, getting ready to start their lap. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one today. We've got 16 drivers, so we had a few people call off. Either they did not like the idea of Baku, but also at the same time, it is Labor Day weekend. I know over here in America, Benny and I do celebrate that. And people like to go on vacation. Not sure what everyone else does around the world, but that would explain it, that's for sure. Do you see we got the Airborne fans in the chat? You have one of your drivers here today in Ripson with Sauerbraten not showing up, which I think that's interesting. Benny Sauerbraten not able to make it today. It'll definitely drop him down the standings, but I wonder by how much.
Yeah, I'm gonna. It's gonna be interesting to see how much as well. I don't want to speculate. I was about to there, but I'm like, you know what? I really don't know what's gonna go on with the dry race, dry qualifying as well, and a very tricky middle sector. You know, that turn 8, turn 9 combo is just a trap for a lot of drivers who just have an absolute break in the concentration for a split second. This turn right here, actually, that TRL Minty just went through, I believe that's, I want to say turn 12. It can be very tricky as well because you get up to 8th gear coming out of that castle section, and then it's just a really sharp kind of tight left-hander to lead you down to basically the penultimate turn before the long straight.
So there are 20 corners listed on this track. As there you can see the times start to come in. That 140 by Tudor, not really representative. As you can see, it's been beaten by Daniel Rocker. He is a rookie to the series, actually. It's good to have him here. He's currently a reserve driver subbing into the Williams. Forgot to give him a little shout out. It is his first race here in tier number 1. And right now he's doing a pretty good job. He's got, what is that, about a 4/10 gap, 3.5 gap over Darn, his Williams teammate for the day. Daniel Rocker saying hello to everyone on track, saying, hello, I am here. That's a pretty good lap, I have to say, Benny.
It's a very good lap. I like it. The 137 from Daniel Rocker. It's very solid lap. But still, the big thing is the main players here, Jan Fehler, Ripson, even Fuel Racing Seb, yet to put in a lap. We've seen pace out of Hittinen as well. You really can't rate some of these drivers that have yet to put up lap times off, and so we'll look to see if that lap will hold up as they come across the line. By the way, it was turn 15 I was talking about. It's like a little sharp kind of left-hander real quick on the run down the hill. Yeah. That's a corner that can really catch out a few drivers as well if they're not careful.
You know who it didn't just catch out? Jan Fehler, currently up top, did a 136.8. I was about to say something. I was holding my tongue. I wanted him to finish the lap, but I actually did some driving with him because I was kind of curious, you know, what he could do and whatnot. He did a 136.2 in a practice session. So let's see if anyone can get close to that. I mean, that 36.8 but for a banker is absolutely mega. So the German driver already saying, hey, I want to retake that championship lead. But Ripson was right behind him, and he's gone purple in Sector 1. It says he's in Sector 2. It said 34-0 Sector 1. Very strong Sector 1. He got a little bit of a tow, actually, from Jan down the main straight to start his lap, which doesn't really do too much. And I see Sauerbraten on holiday. That would explain it. That's unfortunate, but can't wait to have him back next week when we go to Paul Ricard. But let's keep an eye here on Ripson. Let's go on board with him. Let's see what he has to do. Now here he goes through 14. Now, oh, excuse me, 13. Now 14. And then it's into the heavy braking of 15. This is what I like to call the esports curve because the esports drivers love to just bunny hop that curve. But now Ripson through the end of Sector 2. 112.6. He's purple. Can this be a lap that'll take him provisional pole very early on into the session? It's flat out through Sector 3. You go through 16 and then 17, 18, 19, 20. He's just flat out. Not really much in the way of corners. And here we go. Ripson on the run to the line. DRS wide open. What does he have to put down right now? Crossing the line. It's a 136.9, a 10th adrift of Jan Fehler, but still way faster than the rest of the field. A very solid banker lap by Ripson as well.
Yeah, very, very good lap. Love to see that. Is phenomenal by him. I don't know where he lost time really in Sector 3. Like you said, it's kind of just flat out. So maybe needs to find a little bit more pace in that third sector. The run out looked really good though. So just one of those things. Track evolution, of course, is plays a part in here. You talked about the 136.2. We'll see if track evolution over the course of this qualifying session, still with 10 minutes left, if it will allow these cars to kind of get down towards that 136.2 that you were talking about.
Yes, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I do apologize if you guys can hear my dog barking in the background. Once again, he's not too thrilled about people being outside. But, you know, one thing that could be interesting, so Ripson, his Sector 2, not sure if it was the fastest overall. I mean, it very could have been, but there's also the game glitch that, you know, sometimes says it is. But a huge factor here is what kind of wings these guys are running, because I know some of the setups you look at, if you go on to time trial, some of the setups run really high wings, and if you know, sacrifice that downforce through the middle sector for the straight line speed of Sector 3, I mean, you could find possibly more than a 10th there depending on how much wing you take off. So curious to see who is doing what strategy-wise, but a lot of drivers out on track setting an out lap right now. No one on a hot lap by the looks of it. Kev Genetics into the pits as well. Actually, no, he's pushing right now. Is he? No, Kev Genetics looks like he's going into the pits. He's got his DRS off. We do have a little crash, though, in the castle section. That's Rivershawn facing sideways. Not sure what kind of damage he has to his car, but that could be huge. Now, if you remember, we're still running standard, so if you take, you know, floor damage or side pod damage, it'll affect you just enough during the race. Now, of course, you should be able to get that fixed in qualifying, but still, gotta be careful around this track. You take a little bit of damage, bang the wall slightly, you know, you could lose those pivotal tenths around here. It's not hard to overtake, but at the same time, you know, you don't want to mess up your qualifying session. That's for sure, Benny.
No, definitely. And that first sector and this third sector are so fast that you don't want to be losing the wing, especially that first sector. You know what I mean? You don't want to really be losing the wing, trying to stick these fast left-handers that you have in that opening sector. So definitely important if he has damage that he comes back into the pits to repair it. But nonetheless, I think Jan Fehler, you can be pretty happy with the 136.8. None of the other drivers have touched the 136s yet. There's a 3/10 gap between Field Racing Seb and Ripson. So interested to see also how Richie and Tudor are going to plan on improving their times, because they're down there on the 139 and the 140, and obviously that's well off the pace. But those drivers we've seen that they have better pace than that already. So interested to see how they what kind of lap times they can get down on their second runs.
You know, you're talking about improved lap times. Galaxy was purple through Sector 1. He did a 34 almost completely flat, but then he invalidated it on the entry of turn number 7 going into the start of the castle section. Very unfortunate, because he was looking pretty quick on his lap in the Red Bull. He's got a little bit of time. He should be able to return to the pits and go again. But when it comes to the guys like the Haas drivers in the back, so there's some interesting strategy calls you can run around here. So what I've
Darn's
been told,
in the wall, by the way.
Darn's in the wall. Where's Darn in the wall? Oh, he's going backwards out of the castle section. That is definitely going to be a wing change by the looks of it. And he's going to have damage. He'll have to return to the pits, go ahead, get a fresh set of tires, a new wing. But, you know, he's having trouble getting back on track due to all the traffic coming through. That is unfortunate right now. But let's go ahead and look at Sector 3. It looks like Hittinen currently on a lap right now, 16.0 through Sector 2. Not sure what that's kind of looking like, but we're going to keep an eye on the Finnish driver now coming through. I actually don't think this lap is going to be much representative to his pace by the looks of it. Behind him, though, I believe is Rocker currently flying right now. Riversham, excuse me, not Rocker, Riversham, but he's back into the pit. A little farther back, though, is Armate. Armate coming up to the line. It's going to be a 138.0, good enough to be P10, but not able to really fly up the board. Tudor currently sitting 9th on the mediums. Yeah. Am I seeing that correctly? That's a very strong lap by the Haas driver, but still a second off of pace. Speaking of pace, though, Jan Fehler is over a 10th improved on this lap, and he's just gone a flat-out run to the line. What will the German driver do on his second run? It's looking like it's going to be a 36.7, maybe a 0.6. It's a 36.7 flat. Will Ripson be able to respond accordingly? Let's keep an eye on the Alfa Romeo driver. We also have Daniel Rocker. Let's not forget about the Williams driver. He's currently on what looks like
he's on an end lap.
He's
currently on an end lap. Yeah, he put that 137.1 up. That was fantastic. That was his last lap. But he is currently on an end lap, so he'll have one more run. He'll want to come in, put in fresh tires. Field Racing Seb's retired from the session. That 137.2 actually is probably good enough to get him somewhere in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, but he retired in the castle section.
Oh, he's hit the wall. Ripson's hit the wall on the run up the castle section because, like you said, Seb had retired in that castle section. So,
yeah, Seb had an absolutely mighty retirement. Go Racing Richie B up into 6th place. Good lap by the Haas driver. But Ripson now, I think that might have compromised his lap. Yeah, he's backing out of his lap now. No point in continuing. Behind him as well, looks like that is Army. Ripson actually looked like he's going to go again by the looks of it. He is lined up to go again. This will be interesting. Will he have enough time to do one final run after this? 5:11 left in the session. You're going to cut it close. You're going to start your lap at this point in time. You know, it's going to be a little over 3 minutes to get back to the pits. He's not going to have enough time to do another run. So I would expect him to go into the pits. Yeah, he's going into the pits now. Because at this point in time, everyone who's going to be starting a lap is going to be on their final run. So Ripson does not have an answer to Jan Fehler's improved time, but we still have under 5 minutes to go. F1 Racer is improving right now. Only a 10th up, though. Not as much as what we'd expect out of him. He had a really good Monaco qualifying. The Ferrari driver now going through the castle section. Let's see if he gets it right. A little bit of a lockup, holding 3rd gear. We're actually right on board with the Benny. Would you like to take it away for this end of this lap?
Yeah, you got to ride 3rd gear on that castle section. Looking good. Good pace right now. So let's see if he goes. He comes down. He just shifts into 8th gear like that. You can just get down to 8th. Very early on the braking. Locks it, but he keeps it pinned to the track. Nicely done. He stays in 4th as well. So he's going to go down to 4th gear here as well. Nicely done. It looks pretty good so far. Sticking it through. He's got the flat out section now. Handles it very nicely. As he's going to come up to the line. Where's he going to be at? This is looking like a decent lap. He could probably jump a few of these players. Remember, he is just needing about 4 tenths to jump a few positions. And can he get there? Yes, it is 4 tenths, which he improves by. That's good enough to leap him up 3 positions to 7th place.
A very strong lap for the Ferrari driver, but I believe that should be his session done. He does not have enough time to get to the pits and go out once again. So, excuse me. Not a bad lap. I have one racer, but I would assume he is not running high on fuel, so he's going to be starting no higher than 7th. Now, when it comes to race strategy, the soft tires are horrible. I mean, have you driven them around this track, Benny? Because
yeah, they don't last very long. The medium is kind of king around here.
Yeah, F1 Racer actually, he's improved by over 1.5 tenths on this lap right now. Let's keep an eye on the Ferrari driver. You know, I was about to switch over to someone else because a lot of drivers start in their final lap. Like Tom Donnell currently in the 2nd sector, but F1 Racers, it looked like he was on for 2 back-to-back laps. You know, it's very risky because he's going to be trying to start on a really worn saw. It's going to go very wide, though, out of turn 12. Let's keep an eye on his sector 2 split. Let's actually see how much battery he's got left. He's got 19%. He might run out of juice coming across the line, which could be a huge problem. A little bit of a bang on the wall there, but now at the end of sector 2, he's 4 tenths improving. F1 Racer on a lap right now. Purple through sector 2. Not sure if that's a glitch or not, but F1 Racer, you know, he's very low in battery. He's about to go to below 10%. So this last little bit on the line, he's going to lose a little bit of time. So I would expect him to only improve by about 2 tenths at this point. He does have the DRS to help him, but losing that battery power is going to be very costly. But up to the line, up into 5th. So he does pit Seb. They do, I would assume, the same exact time, so I'm not sure why Seb got demoted there, but F1 Racer up into 5th.
He is 1/1000th of a second quicker than Field Racing Seb.
Ah, okay, so I have it on the gaps, and I guess it's showing them as the same. So F1 Racer starting no higher than 5th, but now let's keep an eye on some of these drivers, though. Now, starting their final runs, this looks like we've got a Red Bull coming to the line. I believe that's Galaxy. That is Galaxy starting his lap. Behind him, it looks like we have, well, Darn's a little farther behind. Daniel Rocker beginning his lap. We got a Mercedes driver, Rivershawn, crossing the line. Yes, a lot of drivers starting their final lap. We have a Williams driver coming up. Here comes Darn to start his lap as well. A little farther back, we have a slow Haas on an outlap. So yeah, everything about to kick off. One of the Red Bulls coming out. I believe that's Armate. Yeah, Armate's coming to the line now. Behind him, Jan Failer, and then Tom Donnell. Tom Donnell is currently on a slow lap. He's basically out of fuel, so he will not start higher than 12th by the looks of it. Then we have Hittinen coming through the final sector now. He's improved by over 2.5 seconds. What does the Finnish driver have in the final sector? He's looking to try to get into the top 10. I'm not sure if he'll be improving enough on this lap based off he's only 2.5 up and he's 3.5 off a pole. But does Hittinen have a shot at a top 10 grid position? It's flat out to the line. What does he have? Crosses the line. It's a 37.5. He's up into 7th. Tom Donnell, meanwhile, retiring in the pit lane. Behind him is TRL. No, not Minty. Behind him is... That is Rivershawn. So Minty was a little farther behind. F1 racer returning to the pit. Ripson, one of the last drivers to start his final hot lap. So everything about to kick off. Kev Genetics invalidated his previous run, but he's starting one more lap in his Alpine. And then behind him is GOAT Richie B now. So now drivers starting to finish their final runs. First across the line will be Galaxy's, improved by over a second this time around. What does Red Bull driver have? He's up into 4th. Galaxy with a mega lap to end his session. Behind him, we have no improvement by Daniel. Oh, Daniel Rucker, excuse me, did improve. He's up into 2nd, but he gets immediately displaced by Minty. Minty up into 2nd place. That's demoting Ripson to 4th. There goes Darn. Darn up into 5th position. Now here comes Ripson. Oh, that's not Ripson, but Ripson's purple through Sector 1 by 2/10. It's actually Liors, the Israeli, returning to the pits. He will not improve on his session. Armate is invalidated, so the Red Bull driver will not improve. We have a crash, though. It looks like either Richie B, or no, that's Tudor. Tudor has stopped on track. He crashed his car in the middle sector, or in the 3rd sector, excuse me. Jan Failer, meanwhile, getting caught out by yellow flags, flat to the line. How much will he improve by? He does a 136.4. Is that enough? Is that enough to stay ahead of Ripson? Ripson through the middle sector. Let's see what his delta is. Ripson up by only a 10th and change, so it's not looking like he's going to be able to displace Failer, but he's going to have to find just a tad bit more time up on the line to displace Minty and Rocker. Meanwhile, Rivershan currently sitting at 16th position. Excuse me, what did I just hit there? Rivershan crossing the line. Where will he improve to? Only good enough for 14th. Ripson, though, can he get on the front row? He's only improved by about a 10th. Ripson does put it on the front row, with a mega final sector. Behind him, Kev Genetics does not improve off a P11. And it looks like Richie B getting a little bit of a tow from his teammate. Richie up into 5th place. Fantastic job by the Dutchman. Last across the line will be Hittinen, but Hittinen is on an in-lap. And that looks to be our starting grid for today.
Really good performance from Minty. Fantastic to see him just absolutely stick it up there in P3. And Daniel Rocker as well has to be given props to him to come in here and get it into P4. Has nicely done some previous laps. You thought, Hittinen, I would have imagined, he could have contested for like a 6th or 7th. He showed really good pace in the last race in Monaco. He's in 10th and more needed from the likes of Tudor and to match his teammate and Richie, I should say. But Liors, we asked him, I believe it was after the Bahrain race, Fizzy, what he needs to work on, and he said qualifying. He's not as strong in qualifying. Well, he's going to finish P16 in qualifying and start at the back of the grid.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do if he can become our driver of the day and make his way through. But there you have it, Jan Failer on pole position. Alongside him is the fellow countryman of Ripson, his main championship rival, and our championship leader. So, championship battle continuing here in Baku. Minty coming home in 3rd, the British driver, with a very, very strong lap in the Mercedes. Daniel Rocker in 4th, Richie B in 5th, Darn, in 6th position, Galaxy 7th, F1 Racer 8th, Field Racing Seb, who had that crash in the capsule section, does come home in 9th, and Hittinen rounds out our top 10 of our 16 car grid. Goat Tudor, it looks like he wanted to be committed onto the mediums or an alternate strategy on the start. Kev Genetics also, I don't think he really pushed on his final lap. I'm not used to seeing Kev so far down the order, but with the soft tires being such a bad race tire, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these guys are thinking, hey, I don't even want to use them. Let's try to go mediums and hards for the race. So a lot of strategy is to be played for today.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the hard compound tire just on any track really in this game. So we'll see what the strategy is. The mediums are definitely the best tire here around Baku, as the drivers who start down there, we'll see if they elect to go onto the medium compound for the start of the race. But nonetheless, these softs they don't have a ton of pace to them, so we'll see how quickly they fall off and when the front of the pack wants to switch over to the medium.
Yeah, the softs, I mean, they're good for about 2-3 laps, and then just go down the drain. Not really much to them, so yeah, it'll definitely be curious to see. Now, I've heard things about how a 2-stop strategy could work around here, but I also know of some drivers looking at the 1-stop strategy, so I think strategy could also be key. Now, if there's safety cars, it'll completely throw the wrench into some of these strategies, so people doing the 1-stop are more at risk. But, a lot to play for, plenty of time to go. And one last time, thank you again to our sponsors, Elgato. Be sure to visit Elgato's website for more information about their amazing stream deck. We also have SIMSOK. Don't just use any socks when driving your league or endurance races. Use socks that will give you the edge. With SIMSOK's gripping technology, you will eliminate any issues where your feet might slip off the gas or brake, giving you the competitive edge over your rivals. Be sure to check them out at simsok.com today. And thank you to our final sponsor, Driver61. Driver61 is a renowned content creator whom you may have seen on YouTube, and it's a brilliant channel for learning more about the science behind racing. He also offers coaching sessions with 25% off a consultation session, plus a free coaching session when you use the code AOR Driver61. Learn more today at driver61.com. Now here, you can see the drivers have their setups loaded, strategies picked. Let's see what kind of tire compounds we're looking at drivers starting on. Benny?
Yeah, it's loading it up now. It's basically softs for the top 10, and then everybody in the back switching over to a different tire. Tudor actually has gone for the hards, as well as Tom Daniel and the rest of the racers outside of the top 10. They are on the medium tire. So Kev starting on the medium tire. I like that decision being P11. We decided to start on the medium tire. It's got pace around here. Our mate's on the medium as well. I want to look out for him. He's shown decent pace at times, but the job of these softs, it's going to be really a lot on the start, because if these softs can get away well, I think they have a chance to try and fend off any attack these mediums are going to give towards the end of the life of these softs. So we'll see how everyone starts. It's going to be a vital start.
Yeah.
And I gotta ask you, Fizzy. Who do you like for taking control of the race early on?
That's going to be tricky. I think the key is going to be the guys in 11th through 16th. So I don't think the soft runners are going to be out. I mean, after 5 laps or so, they really, really aren't like a viable option. And so I think a lot of these guys know that. So I think it's going to be key on how quickly the guys like Failer, Ripson, and Minty can get ahead of those guys, and then when they pit, who can make the overtakes. Now we know Ripson is an absolutely fantastic overtaker, possibly the best one on this grid. We've seen him do some fantastic moves already, so he's going to be looking to slice and dice some of these guys on the slower compounds. But even though, yeah, you have the guys up front, they're going to try to pull away, but due to that early pit stop window that they'll have, honestly, it's the guys through 11th through 16th. If they can keep it in a straight line, possibly keep in touch with some of these guys on the softs at the start, those guys are going to be the ones controlling the race, especially if they're only doing a 1-stop, because they're going to be fighting for position to anyone doing a 2-stop. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens. And I'm also curious to see, how long some of these guys might try to push the softs, hope for a safety car or something. There's a lot to play for. I mean, this is going to be a fantastic race here. Beautiful city, beautiful background, and we're about to go racing, folks.
You got to love a good race around here. Yes. Like you said, beautiful city. The scenery's amazing. The track's a lot of fun too, and a lot of speed there for the drivers. Just the last of the grid forming up now. We got the lights coming very, very shortly.
Yep, here they are. Drivers all up on the grid. Leo is the last one to line up, and we are just waiting for the drivers to get the lights. Here they go. They're going on. 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And away we go. It's a short run down to turn number 1. Camera angle not the best right now. It looks like Jan Failer does get away well. Covers off Ripson on the inside. Minty hanging on to 3rd. Richie B with a fantastic start. He's all the way up into 4th position already. The Williams pair going side by side in Rocker and Darn. Galaxy Austin 7, F1 Racer and Seb battling it out. Drivers going about double file now down the back straight onto the run to turn number 3. But a very strong getaway by Failer, was able to cover off the attack a little bit farther back on Hitman. Looking to try to find a way around Field Racing Seb, but there's nothing going through turn 3. Now turn 4 gets almost gets hit by Kevgenetics in the rear. You know, this middle sector's you got to be very, very careful here. You know, it's just such a slow section of the track. Seb getting a little out of sorts. Hitman looking to pounce. This is the battle only for 9th position, but still looking fantastic. But now into the castle section we go. There's just nowhere to find a way around someone. Failer leading the way, not really pulling away as much as you would expect. As you can see, the softs already people sliding a little bit. Even Failer, Ripson sliding a little bit out of turn number 12. But very good starts by some of these drivers on the grid. Kevgenetics pressuring Hitman. So Hitman was pressuring his teammate. Now Kevgenetics looking very, very quick on those medium tires. So like I said, watch out for the guys starting outside the top 10.
Absolutely, and Darn as well, trying to put a little bit of pressure on Rocker. He was really close in that middle sector. He's only about 2/10 back, but this third sector is starting to put a lot of pressure on it. Darn trying to use the slipstream to get the pace, but he is just falling back here of Daniel Rocker, who is blitzed ahead to a half-second lead. So, interestingly enough, Darn, I'm interested to see if he can have a go in this second. Oh no, he spun! Darn spun.
Oh, that is heartbreak for Darn. He was looking very quick, as you were saying. Now he's all the way down towards the back of the order in 16th position. Spinning the turn while we're actually watching it as it happened. It wasn't the best camera angle, but it looks like he got just too much on the power. And he spins again. Ooh, hits his rear wheel in the wall. Lucky to be going straight line. But this track, when you spin, those tires get so overheated. It is so hard to cool them down. So Darn with heartbreak already. Hoping definitely for a safety car at this point. But up at the front, Jan Failer had just broken DRS on Ripson, but let's see if Ripson can gain a bit of that back through the middle sector. Also, Leors made a nice move on Tom Donnell right as we were watching Darn spin. Got it done down the main straight, so the Israeli driver making one overtake already. But Failer trying to gap Ripson as much as he can, but Ripson he's pushing to hang on, but Minty as well. You know, possibly losing DRS. He's already out of DRS range, which is going to be crucial here because that run down to turn number 1, coming out of 16. Man, if you have DRS there, you're guaranteed to stay on it for at least the first half of the next lap. But you need it, and Ripson knows it. He's blitzing it right now, using all the overtake he can. He's just trying to stay in that second range so he can get DRS on the way down to turn number 3. Minty, trying to react, but the Mercedes driver not really getting enough straight line speed right now down the front straight. Meanwhile, Field Racing Seb is getting really close to F1 Racer, and this is the battle for 7th position. F1 Racer using a little bit more battery, and Jan Failer's into the pits. Failer into the pits on lap number 2. That's a very, very early pit stop, and we believe that is scheduled. So interesting to see the German driver pull the trigger early. He's already got the medium tire on, and he's already committed to the 2-stop strategy.
Yeah, very, very early pit stop. Would have thought the sauce were good for at least another 3 laps around here. Meanwhile, in the back, the Red Bull trying to defend. That's our mate, I believe, who's trying to defend his position. DRS train is just all the way down, basically. As Field Racing Seb still sticking it pretty close to this gearbox of the Ferrari. He's having a really good look. He's trying to line up an overtake here. It's tough going into the castle section to get that overtake done. So he's going to have to wait till maybe after the castle section. But look at that. He's right on the tail.
Yeah, speaking of on the tail, it's hard to, I don't know about you, but my deltas are a little messed up right now. Minty looking like he's kind of close to DRS range on Ripson, but not sure. And Richie B also really struggling. It looks like he's out of DRS range for sure. Minty, though, doing everything he can to keep up with Alfa Romeo driver. Look what Jan Failer came out. You know, he's going to come out in traffic. He's going to have Tom Donnell, you know, holding him up potentially up the road. He's on the fresh set of mediums, but look at that. He's almost caught up to the guys in the back. We do have yellow flag, though. Who was that round? Someone was into
Darn again.
Darn? No, it wasn't Darn. Someone else was round, I think. Richie B was round. He's round on the exit of turn number 15. The Haas driver who had such a good start all the way down to the back of the grid. It is heartbreak for the Dutch driver. Yeah, no, don't need to do insult to injury and say it was Darn again. But Richie B is round. That is unfortunate. Now, at the end of lap 4, Richie B's tires are just absolutely cooked right now. Struggling. F1 Racer, then, meanwhile, into the pits as well. Ripson's round, though. Wow. The soft tires are just dead. Ripson spun round in turn number 1, got caught out by just how worn these tires are. And now he's stuck behind the battle between Kevgenetics and Hittinen, our championship leader, with an absolutely crucial mistake, as now he looks to make the move on Hittinen on the run into turn number 3. Hittinen just letting him by, Ripson up to 6, Hittinen down to 7th, but spinning like crazy. It's going to be a drive to survive today, Benny. These drivers are really struggling out there for grip.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Minty, you're looking at this going, it's like that GIF. It's like, who would have thought we'd be here? And Minty's going, not me. He's leading the Grand Prix. He's a 1.7 ahead of Daniel Rocker, too. He's got the pace maybe to keep Daniel at bay. But he is your Grand Prix leader right now after Ripson spin. That's a big spin. And I'll tell you what, Kevgenetics up 6 places already. He's had a fantastic few opening laps.
He's also on the alternate strategy on the mediums. Question is he going to 1 stop or 2 stop? That's what we're going to have to look at today. Kev looking very, very good right now. Really quick on the mediums, and he's starting to reel in his teammate a little bit. Not too much. I mean, he was a lot closer earlier on, but then the softs kind of pulled away a little bit. But Minty now still leading the way. It's only lap 4. What question is, when does he decide to pit? Because the pit window has been open. You can see F1 Racer and Failer. Failer actually almost a DRS range of Leoers and Tom Donnell in the back. So he might get held up a little bit, and that could compromise his race. Now Minty into the pits, though. Our race leader also behind him, Daniel Rocker, into the pits as well. That will give the lead to Field Racing Seb, who's being followed very, very closely by Galaxy. We might have ourselves a little scrap here for the battle of the lead as Failer goes purple with a 140.6. He's trying to undercut the likes of Minty and Rocker, who look like they're his main competition after the Ripson spin.
He pitted on left. He's trying to undercut the entire field at this rate. Fizzy.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, yeah, Galaxy right on this gearbox. He would have had DRS as well, but it's just not enough track for him there to get the overtake done. Field Racing Seb would not have had that DRS, I don't think. So it is going to be Galaxy remaining in second place. I'm going to switch over to our mate, though. He is looking pretty good. He is up 8 positions. He is on the medium tire, and he is trying to get it close to Hittinen here. Hittenen's on that soft tire, so that is going to start fading away. Remember, Hittinen started 10th place, so that soft compound tire is really going to start losing some grip for him. He is going to start really feeling it start to degrade here. But, you know, our mate's there, ready for the overtake. He's got it within 3/10 of a second. So we'll see going into this flat-out section very soon if he can get much closer, because if Hittinen does any mistake on the run out here of turn 13, I believe it is, or 16, I should say, you know, all the way down the straight, our mate's going to have him.
Yes, another guy who's was 3/10 behind. Failer is right on the gearbox of Tom Donnell. Now, when Minty came out of the pits, he was over 5.5 seconds behind. He's already only 4 seconds, possibly under that, behind Failer. So you can just see how slow Failer is going. But here comes our mate on Hittinen as Galaxy pits from the front. Our mate with a nice and easy overtake over the finish driver. He's up into 3rd position now. Jan Failer in the background making the move on Tom Donnell before turn number 1. Nice and easy. But Minty, who was definitely benefiting off of the traffic that Failer is getting into. And now Failer's going to be stuck behind Leors, possibly for the whole middle sector of the lap. Question is, can he clear the Israeli on the run into turn 3? Leors not really fighting it, and it looks like he's just going to let Failer through, which is huge if you're Failer, and it definitely hurts Minty a lot, as Failer was able to benefit a lot by having that DRS down the front straight, and then once again on the run into turn number 3. Failer on the charge back through the grid. Meanwhile, up towards the front, Field Racing Seb still out there on softs. Very interesting move by the Alpine driver. Is he going to keep trying to stretch these softs, maybe do a 1-stop? Because I think at this point, he's probably past the point where you'd want to pit for a 2-stop, because he's already taken the softs 5 laps. It'll be 6 laps by the time he's coming around this way. So, interesting strategy call by Seb up front. I mean, he's got his teammate behind. So, you know, a little bit of team orders, you know, if he starts to really fall off and he's just trying to get those softs the last few extra laps, he might let Kev through, not really fight it, and then just kind of stick in his DRS. But Field Racing Seb also in a really good position right now, you know, to steal some good points. You saw him have that crash through the castle section in qualifying and started it in 9th. Definitely recovered decently. But his teammate now does have DRS behind him.
Yeah, and the thing is, you want to talk about how much the softs have fallen off. Go Tudor's on the hard. He's in 4th position, and he's widening the gap between him and Hitton. And the gap was 9/10. It's now 1.2. So the hard is outdoing the soft. You're already 6 laps in, as we see Hitton Rivershawn, I should say, does get the pass on Hitton for 5th position. Nicely done by the Merc. He has got 5th, and he is gaining on Tudor, who is. I'm sorry, it's Tudor who's gaining on Armate, who is only 4/10 ahead of him. But yeah, Rivershawn, he should have the pace really now to chase down Goat as well, because he's on the mediums instead of those softs. And we'll see if he has the pace to catch up here. He's just outside DRS zone. Meanwhile, back in 7th place, Jan Fehler, he's going for the move on the outside of the AlphaTauri of Hitton, and he wants to get the position. He's going to stick it as well. The AlphaTauri may be trying to switch back, but there's not enough pace there. Jan Fehler's up to 6th.
Brilliant move through turns 5 and 6. Fehler making it work. Really trying to recover after that blunder last week in Monaco. Now, I watched that clip back, and he just kind of got caught out by a little part of the wall on the exit of the Novell chicane that sticks out a little bit more than the wall prior to it. Just knocked his front right off. That's what caused him to crash. A very unlucky crash, but I'm sure he's learned his lesson to keep an eye on the walls, and that is what he's doing right now. But you know, Field Racing Seb still up at front, but it looks like his teammate Kev Janex is all over the gearbox of the Alpine. He's surely going to take the lead of the race. Seb, one of the 2 drivers yet to pit off of those softs, still out there, but he's going to go to the left. I think he's going to go into the pits, maybe?
He should. He definitely should. Sorry, beg your pardon. You're right. He's in the pit. The pace for Field Racing Seb, I'm sorry, for Kev Janex, if you saw it in that 3rd sector, he had cut it down from about 4 or 5/10 to 2. So, and on the medium compound tire, there's nothing that he was going to be able to do without DRS open. So he knows he's going to lose the position anyway. It's time to get off the softs for him. Then he's just going to take that opportunity to pit.
And Seb and Hitton both onto a fresh set of medium tires. That's an interesting move. So it looks like those guys are committing to a 2-stop strategy, just pitting much later. Very surprising move. I don't think the mediums would make it to the end at this point, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, he made the softs last 7 laps and wasn't too slow, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. He's got a huge margin to hit, and he's 3 seconds behind Ripson, who's stuck behind Galaxy. So Ripson, whose day has just not been going his way after having that spin coming out of turn number 1. Now let's see what he has to do. The German driver's gonna have to make some overtakes if he wants to improve on his position, but Fehler right now in the net, lead of the race, pressuring Rivershawn for 4th position. Rivershawn, one of 6 drivers who started and has not pitted on the harder compounded tires. Rivershawn looking pretty good right now, but it's looking like Fehler's going to get him down the main straight, a little up the road. Armate getting a little squirmy out of 15. Red Bull driver out of DRS from Kev Janex and possibly falling victim to Goat Tudor now, but back to Fehler, looking to have that nice, easy overtake down the main straight here for Rivershawn. This is for 4th position, and he, again, like we said pre-race, these guys who started on the alternate strategy, they're battling 4th position because they're trying to go one less stop than these guys who started on the softs for sure. And so you got to really, really battle it out. You can see Rivershawn not wanting to give up 4th place. He's doing everything he can, but just does not have the straight line speed to counter Fehler. Fehler up into 4th. Also up on the move, Minty up into 6th. So he was hoping his teammate would hold up Fehler a little bit more, but he did not. Now it's Mercedes 5th and 6th place. Liors down into 7th.
Yeah, Liors 3 seconds off on the back of Rivershawn. So the DRS from Minty just ate him up on the front straight, and Minty was able to get by. So now the task for Minty, if he wants to show the same pace he had to qualify, is to hunt down his teammate here. He's 3.1. That gap is slowly closing, but so is the one between Jan and Tudor. Remember, Tudor is on the hard compound tire, and Jan, he's got it down to 0.3 of a second. So he's really, really lining up a shot at this Haas once they get through the castle section. Let's see if they can all take it pretty cleanly. They do. Nicely done. But yeah, this Haas might be the one to hold up Jan Fehler. Rivershawn is falling back, though. He's over a second behind. And it is going to be a little bit of a DRS train. You know, Goat is going to have it on Armate, but Jan's going to have it right behind him. So this could get a little bit interesting as they move in towards this straight.
Good like the German driver will have a little bit of a move here, but you know that if you're the third car in a DRS train, it's going to be a little bit harder. Tire advantage or not, but he's getting a little bit though. He's going to have a nice slipstream down that front straight. Will it be enough though to make the move on the Haas driver? Does not look like it. Looks like Tudor's burning a little bit more battery. We have a yellow flag though. That's Tom Nanell, who is round. He is round coming out of 19 and into 20. Looks like not too much damage on that Aston Martin. And there's no safety car. Actually, no, he's missing his right front end plate. Is it? Yeah, I think he's missing his right front end plate. Not 100% there, but Tom Nanell with a little bit of tears. Meanwhile, Galaxy making a move on F1 Racer. Both drivers have pitted. Galaxy on the move right now. Tudor, though, making a move on our mate as Tom Nanell retires in the pits. But Tudor making the move into turn 3, going around the outside. And he has second place from the Red Bull driver, who's also falling under pressure from Jan Fehler. Will he do the move once again through 5 and 6? Now he tucks in behind and stays put. But he's right on the gearbox of that Red Bull. You can tell he just wants to make the move work. But our mate making his car wide enough because there's just nowhere to overtake going into the castle section. So he's just, Fehler's just going to have to sit back and relax. Meanwhile, look at this though. Rivershan 4/10 behind Fehler. Minty almost in DRS range of Rivershan. So this battling is costing Jan Fehler seconds of time because Minty was over 4 seconds behind the German, and now he's in DRS range of his teammates. So this is huge. Fehler needs to get a move on because now the guy who's looking like his biggest challenger for the race win, well, actually outside of the guys who have not pitted, you know, his biggest challenger is almost within a second of him.
Absolutely, Minty on the charge, and I'll tell you what, it means Kev Genetics at the front has to push because Tudor's on that. Oh, Darn's retired. Has Darn crashed? Darn looks like he's crashed, and it's a full safety car. Darn has crashed. It's that turn we talked about. It's the turn, Fizzy, that we talked about. It's that turn 15, and that has caused Darn to DNF. He is out, and the safety car is as well. And now the question is, if you're Kev Genetics, you haven't pitted yet. Do you want to stop under the safety car conditions?
It's going to be very tricky. You can see Daniel Rocker, Leor's Galaxy, F1 Racer, a bunch of these guys pitting from the back. Now, because of where the safety car came out, it actually did not leave the pits until after Kev Genetics was through. So these guys up front do have the opportunity to pit without losing time due to the fact that they're being held up by the safety car on this lap. So everyone's being held up by Delta right now, so just don't speed and you're okay. But this brings back Richie B and Hittinen and Ripson, these guys who are a little farther off from everyone else. Definitely brings them back into the fold. And this also, it's kind of hard to tell how this is going to play out, because if you're like someone like Tudor, you don't have another set of hearts. You can't put them on. If you're Kev Genetics or Armate, you could put on a set of hearts, go to the end of the race for sure. These guys putting on a fresh set of mediums, though, 16 laps. I mean, you're getting the safety car, so you're going to not really get much wear through here. It's a tricky move. I mean, I think if you're Tudor, you have to pit now for mediums. Like, there's no point in staying out because you're just going to lose all that time from everyone in the pits. But if you're Kev Genetics Armate, probably put on a set of hards. You're not going to be that fast, but it should work out. But someone like, if you're someone like Fehler or Minty or anyone else who was on the two-stop strategy, this hurts you because this safety car helps everyone who started outside the top 10 and was having a good race and holding their own. So it's definitely changed the game a little bit, that's for sure.
I'll tell you who it's really brought into play. Maybe not for the race win, but at least for some serious points now. And that's Ripson. He went into the pits. He put a fresh pair of mediums on. These mediums are probably going to get to the end of the race. I think at the end of the safety car, you figure you got about 14 laps. The mediums could probably stretch to that. And I'll tell you what, he's going to be in 12th position now, and just behind some drivers that he knows he has the pace to take on the track. As we see all the leaders coming in pits, Kev Genetics has indeed gone to the hard, so Fuel Racing Seb is going to regain control of the lead. But,
yeah, what's huge though, Minty got held in the pits because the game is not good at two-stop or double stacking. Rivershed came in right in front of him. Minty actually just lost 2 positions, one to Daniel Rocker and one to F1 Racer. So that's horrible if you're Minty. He was looking like, all of a sudden he was battling Fehler for the leaders of the guys on the two-stop strategy, and now he's 4th out of them And he's all the way down 9th position. Only Seb did not pit, which we'll see if that comes to bite him. He's already on 3 lap old tires. That's going to be a real push to the end. But if you're someone like KevGenetics, or if you're, well, look at it this way. So KevGenetics and Armate, they're on hards. Rivershan also on hards. You got to imagine the medium runners are going to be faster. I mean, the hards looked good on the first stint when Tudor was driving them. But, you know, question is now, these guys on fresh and mediums, lower fuel, you got to assume that a couple of these guys are going to struggle a little bit and be under a lot of pressure from the medium runners behind.
It's absolutely imperative that they get their tires up to temperature onto the safety car, because like you said, they are probably going to struggle against these mediums, and they're going to have to wait out quite a few number of laps before those mediums really start to lose any pace that they have on them. So, you know, if you're KevGenetics, your Armate, you could be a sitting duck right now. Same if you're Rivershan, really, remember, down in 6th position. But nonetheless, you're right, Minty being held in the pits puts him down to 9th. That is very difficult. We've had 3 different race winners through the opening 3 races. Jan is in 5th position on fresh mediums. Are we going to get a 4th different winner? There's an opportunity to. I like Tudor going on to the mediums. He only dropped 1 position with the pit, down to 3rd position. That's only because Fuel Racing Seb is elected not to pit. So 1 more lap with the safety car. It looks like that we will go green on lap 14. So we'll see if these tires can be up to temperature and how the hards are going to hold up right at the restart.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. We also have an update from the chat. Darn DNF because his wheel and pedals disconnected from the game. That's a very unfortunate thing to happen. I've seen that happen in a few other leagues, and it seems like it's a common issue. It's something wrong with the game itself and not the wheel. But that is heartbreak, and I mean, if there's anywhere you don't want to disconnect, it's in the braking zone of any corner, especially, you know, turn 15 going straight on, being a sharp left-hander. Very unfortunate to hear. Hopefully we see Darn do better next week, so that is unfortunate for Darn. But at the same time, the safety car does help out the likes of Tudor, KevGenetics, Armate. You know, yeah, Rivershan's on the hards, but you still can't count out some of these guys who are, you know, they're on their the alternate tire, because, you know, they have the track position as well. So you might lose a place or two, but I think we're going to see some very good racing and some good overtakes, because like you said at the beginning of the safety car, Ripson, he's down in 10th. He's a little out of place. He started on the front row, but had that spin in turn 1. You know he's going to be feisty because he knows that Failer is up in 5th, and Failer is looking to capitalize as much as he can, seeing that his championship rivals with Sauerbraten not racing today, both are currently sitting for a combined total of 1 point gained. So we'll see how aggressive some of these drivers get and where they decide to make some overtakes, because, you know, we saw Failer make the move through 5 and 6, and we've seen in previous weeks we saw Ripson make a move in Monaco around the outside, and then also, you know, those fantastic moves to the middle sector of Spain. So as a safety car probably going in this lap, it kind of looks like it. Yep, there it goes. So safety car in this lap. Question is, if you're Seb, where do you go, Benny? Where do you start going full throttle?
That's tough because it's going to be a straight nonetheless. I think if you're Seb and you want to go, you can go full throttle probably as soon as you want. I mean, Kev is getting real close to that gearbox, and you want to just try and maybe feign that you're going full throttle and then lay off before you get to the line. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. You can't
it's
really,
always
like,
tough.
Throw a dummy as soon as you start to accelerate. And here he goes. He's going early. I would have thought he would have waited a little bit closer to the line, because now he has KevGenetics in his slipstream. Behind him, Armate looking very, very close to Tudor, but not close enough into turn number 1. It is a green flag now. You know, you can't overtake until you get across the finish line anyways. But very bold move by Seb there, making it work. In the background, though, Minty was really close to F1 Racer through turn number 1. Didn't make a move, but you can see the little bit of accordion building. Failer, though, looking to try to make a move on to Armate. Looking very quick. Up the road, though, Tudor trying to go up the inside of KevGenetics. They bang wheels. KevGenetics hits the wall. Oh, no, the Alpine driver with a hard lick into the wall. Probably has a little bit of right side damage. His wing looks okay, but I'm sure that's just a visual glitch. As Tudor up into second after the contact, KevGenetics down to 4th, eating a lot of curb. Now he's just getting swallowed up by Armate and Failer. He certainly has damage to that Alpine. Unfortunate to see happen, but behind him, Daniel Rocker and Rivershan going side by side into turn number 7. Rocker ahead of Rivershan, and in the background, hitting in, Leo is also battling it out. But you can just see how slow Kev Janex is. I mean, he's right behind Failer, but look at that, Armate already 2.9 behind Tudor and Seb. So because of how slow and all that battling was by Kev Genetics, Tudor and Seb are just gone. It's Tudor looking in a great spot to win this race now.
Yeah, I want to see if there's any damage to Jan Failer's wing, because Armate broke a little early on the castle, going into the castle section, and actually up the hill. Jan actually bumped into the rear end of Armate, so it doesn't look like there's any damage. Certainly everything's still there, and it's Jan who's making the move on Armate. He's going on the outside, and he gets the move done, and it's Tudor, meanwhile, who's going on the outside and gotten the lead of Field Racing Seb down in towards turn 1.
Tudor up into P1. You see Kev Genetics into the pits. F1 Racer, Leos and Galaxy all pitting. All drivers certainly have damage for wing change. That is heartbreak if you're Kev Genetics. F1 Racer, F1 Racer accidentally put on inners, and he has immediately retired from the session. He realized that he made a mistake there, and that is a pit lane retirement. That is, once again, it's not the first time we've seen that happen this season. Very, very unfortunate for him. But now Tudor up in front now, leading the way. You know, we might see a post-race penalty, though, for him. So even though he's in the lead right now, you never know, because if that goes to the stewards and he gets found guilty of a penalty, that is heartbreak for the Romanian who's currently leading the way. Failer, though, 2.7 behind. Daniel Rocker, though, trying to go around the outside of Armate. They're side by side going to the castle. Who's going to yield? Armate yields. Rocker up in the 4th. Armate almost losing the rear end as he's now down to 5th position.
That car absolutely matrixed around that barrier. Like, that is, he got the rear end so incredibly loose, so it still managed to stick it on the track. Nonetheless, he is now outside of a second on Daniel Rocker. I mean, it's cost him so much time. So we'll see if he can run down that gap as well. But Tudor on that fresher mediums, he is gaining a lot of ground on Field Racing Seb. He's 1.4 up. There's still 12 laps here to complete. Well, they're about to cross the line, so 11 left. But nonetheless, we'll see if Tudor, he's gone purple with a 139.9. We'll see if he can keep this pace up.
Failure does a 139.6, though. The German driver is coming. He's on the hunt right now. DRS is enabled, so we're going to see a lot of things kicked off. Meanwhile, Ripson up into 7th position. He's actually trying to take 6th place off of Rivershan up the inside at turn number 2. He will have DRS thanks to Armate up ahead. Ripson on the move. Also, Minty trying to also capitalize off of Rivershan going wide. And there you have it. Minty making the move stick. The Mercedes drivers going side by side. No team orders here. And Rivershan backing out. Minty up in the 7th. The hard tire's not really working. You know, you got Richie B. He's down in 10th. He's already lost DRS to Hitman. Rivershan are really struggling right now. I mean, he's just dropping positions. And Armate's kind of just a moving chicane for these medium runners there. He's going to go defensive, but Ripson trying to go around the outside, but Armate just far enough ahead to make it work. Well, these hard tires not working at all for some of these guys. Kev Genetics and Leors, meanwhile, on softs. That's going to be a push to make it to the end of the race, that's for sure. But both drivers, you know, they didn't have much of a choice. They had to come in to change their wings, and they're basically out of the points and out of contention for anything at this stage.
Yeah, it's a brilliant driving, though, from Minty, really. That overtake from Ripson. He's there to absolutely pick up the pieces on Rivershan. That's fantastic stuff from Minty. And Ripson's not done yet. He is just 2.25 back from Armate. He wants this Red Bull driver. They're going down the straight. Remember, DRS is enabled. Armate will not have it. He could be much of a sitting duck here as they come flying down the straight. Minty wants some of the action as well. He's going to follow the gearbox of Ripson. Ripson gets the over there. They're 3 wide going into turn number 1. And it is going to be just Ripson that takes the lead. I don't know if there's contact there. It looked like they might have just brushed there briefly. But it is Ripson that remains ahead of Minty in 5th.
Minty, though, he's got the DRS. Ripson does not. He does not have DRS to defend. Minty looking to go up the inside into turn number 3. But Ripson using all the battery he can to stay ahead. Ripson up into 5th. Minty up into 6th. Armate down to 7th. Unfortunate for the Red Bull drivers, just lost another position. Meanwhile, in the background, Hitman made the overtake on Rivershan. So Rivershan now 9th, hitting up into 8th position. Now he's pressuring Armate like crazy. So the DRS working up at the front though. Failer is half a second behind Seb. He got into DRS range by turn 1. He used a lot of battery, had just enough overspeed, got into DRS range on Seb, and now he's looking to make the overtake by the end of this lap. The German driver, he's hunting, currently sitting in 3rd. He also sees now, he'll definitely see on his top left of the screen when he's looking at the drivers and nearby, he'll see that Ripson's already up into 5th. Ripson doing a fantastic job of dispatching several drivers and able to recover after that spin up into 5th place, but he's 2.7 behind Rocker. He's going to have to defend from Minty. But speaking of defending, will Field Racing Seb have any answer to the absolutely flying Jan Failer right now? Failer going to go to the left-hand side of the track. Easy as you'd like, overtake. Jan Failer up into 2nd place. Field Racing Seb down into 3rd.
And another overtake on track as well. It's Hittinen up into 7th place. The DRS on Armate is good enough. He gets by on the hard compound tires, and all those drivers on the hard slowly now down the order. All the mediums are ahead of them as they now have the softs behind them, although their Kev Genetics is 13.2 back. There's probably just not enough life and track left for those softs to come in and have the overtake. So nonetheless, a good move from Hittinen. He's up to 7th place. Ripson, like you said, up into 5th. He's got to find a bit more pace, though. Daniel is keeping it pretty close with Ripson. He's not really finding a lot of time, the airborne driver. So we'll have to see if he can pick up the pace, because as of right now, 5th might be his finishing position if he cannot. Minty is right behind him, too. He is hunting him down. He wants that position, but the gap to Minty is slowly widening as well. So we'll see if they can... I should say Minty can stay ahead of Hittinen. But Jan Failer, 2nd place. He wants this first position. He is trying to reel in Tudor. They are on equal tires here, both the same medium tires, both 5 laps old. We'll see if he could do just that. 2.1 the gap now.
Yeah, with 8 laps to go, give or take. It's going to be tricky. These medium guys who are on 5, 6 laps old tires should be okay. It'll be a little rough those last few laps, but they will be okay. But Seb's going to have to do a lot of tire management, as it was said in the chat, if he wants to make it to the end. He's on now 10-lap-old tires. I mean, he had the safety car to eliminate about 3 of those laps, but still, if you're Seb, you're going to be struggling. He's got 3.5 to Rocker, but, you know, it's going to be a very, very tall order. Richie B into the pits, going off of his hards, probably for a set of softs, I would assume, maybe mediums. Off to see what the Dutch driver does, but he's into the pits. He was not really gaining on anyone up ahead of him, and I think he's just going to hope for a safety car now. He's on to a set of medium tires, possibly trying to go for fastest lap. It's not been a good day for the Dutchman, but for his teammate, Goat Tudor, currently leading the way. He's got a 2-second gap, trying to make it 4 winners in 4 races, and a good return after not being here the last 2 weeks. We'll see what he can do now. Lap 19 out of 26. Things are kicking off. Ripson is trying to close into Daniel Rocker. He's 2 seconds now behind Rocker. Minty getting carried along, then hit, and then just 3 seconds behind. You know, knock on wood, all right? Knock on wood right now. No one has a penalty yet. That could be because of the fact of the nature of the walls or whatnot, but everyone's been keeping it clean, not much in the way of warnings. So, well, that we know of. Everyone could have 2 warnings, and, you know, just the penalties inbound. But drivers keeping it relatively clean, not picking up penalties, so pretty good. You can see Ripson using all the track limits, coming out of turn number 16, not getting a warning, or maybe getting a warning for his trouble, we don't know. But he's doing everything he can to catch up with Daniel Rocker, but Rocker showing really good pace in his first race here. You know, he knows the guy ahead of him in Field Racing Seb did not pit, at least I would assume he'd be aware of that. And he knows that he's got, you know, he's got the better tires, and that Seb's going to really struggle towards the end, so he's really, really pushing right now. But meanwhile, Rivershan closing in on Armate. This might be our closest battle on track, because I don't think Minty is going to have a run on Ripson right now. So the 2 runners on the hard tires since the safety car going at it, but Rivershan just a little bit too far back right now.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Minty is getting very close to Ripson. He had the DRS going down into turn 2. and he has gotten within 4/10. So Ripson needs to close the gap to Daniel Rocker. But like you said, Rocker showing good pace. I want to go back to the pit stop by Richie, Fizzy, because I just want to understand the strategy, I guess. You're in 10th position. Yes, you're not really contesting for much else in the race, but a point is a point, and you've pitted, and now you're 11 seconds back from the points positions again. So there's not a lot of time left for Richie to catch up this gap. I don't understand why you would pit yourself out of the points.
I think he probably had wing damage, so that's the only real explanation. You have the wing damage, you're just gonna lose too much time, and he probably took a little bit of damage somewhere around the lap, hit the wall, and he had to change that front wing, I would assume, because I mean, look how far back he came out. I mean, he was only 2 seconds behind Rivershin. You know, he's about 20 something behind. I'm pretty sure the pit delta is less than that. It's only like 16 to 18 seconds.
Yeah.
It's not too big of a delta. It's not as short as something like Canada. But that's my only guess here. He's down in 12th position. It's just been heartbreak for him. But up front, though, Minty on the move. Minty is through on Ripson. Minty up into P5. Ripson down to 6th.
Nothing much he could have done defending against DRS. It is a pretty late overtake by Minty, but he gets the job done. Nicely done, although the DRS should be back for Ripson. We'll see if Ripson has to go back at him. There's just not enough track, though, is it? It's just a much shorter straight, so it will be P6 for Ripson. You are right, by the way. I had a look at the race director, and Richie did pit for a new wing. He's got the gap down to 9 seconds, so between him and the points. So we'll see if he can catch up. But nonetheless, Minty doing well, get up into P5, and Ripson 8 points in the championship. What is this going to do for his championship standings is the question. I mean, it's really going to throw the season into kind of a loop for, you know, who could win. It's kind of anybody's game.
I think it's
not that it was prior, but
I think it's all going to depend on what Jan Fehler can do against Tudor. Tudor leading the way, but just barely holding Jan Fehler out of DRS range. Fehler now down to 1.4. Not as close to the gap as Minty has on now Rocker. Minty was flashing his ERS light, so he's recovering. But you can see now he's just outside of DRS range of Rocker. He's really starting to push right now. Ooh, a little squirmy out of 15. That's going to cost him. Probably getting DRS down the main straight now out of 16. Goes wide. Minty really pushing everything he's got in that Mercedes, but just lost a couple tenths there as a result from that mistake through 15 and then 16. He's going to have to try again on that. So the Mercedes driver made the nice overtake, but the question is, does he have enough juice in the tank to hold back Ripson? Ripson's gaining a lot down the straight. Here he goes. You can see the red flashing light. Ripson throws a dummy and decides, I'm just going to wait. Ripson staying back in 6th place. He's probably got a decent amount of battery. Let's go on board with him. He's got 23% left in that battery. We know Minty's going to be close to 10%. Yeah, there he is. He's under, but Ripson not really trying to drain the battery and make the overtake stick here. So Minty's going to hang on for another lap to P5.
Oh, yeah, it's just very close for Ripson, but just not quite enough. But that battery's not going to charge enough really for him. Meanwhile, down in 9th, it's Armate. Is he going to go for the outside? No, there's not enough. I thought looking at it just in the rear, I thought Armate could have him, but he just doesn't. But he's getting very close to Rivershan, so could be pressuring him for 8th. We'll have to come back to that, obviously. Meanwhile, at the front there, Fizzy, Jan has got the gap down to less than a second. He is creeping up on DRS range. Goat is going to have to do a lot of defending here in these last 5 laps.
Yeah, Tudor through 50 and 60. This is all key. Can he keep in front? Over a second, he's using the battery. It's looking like Tudor's going to hang on to the position. Fehler gets a very nice exit out of 16 using the battery. Fehler's going to have DRS down the front straight. It is game on with 4 laps to go when they cross the line. Fehler hunting down, trying to get a 2nd race victory on the season. Tudor trying to get his 1st on the season, also his 1st podium. But you can see both drivers out of battery. Both drivers blinking their ERS light. They're pushing to the max right now. This is crazy. Down the order, though, Tudor's teammate Richie B trying to make a move on Lior's. But nothing going there through turn number 15. But we're going to keep an eye on this battle for the front. This is the battle for the race lead. I think it's going to come down to now, can Jan Fehler harvest enough battery to make a last-minute move on Tudor? Because both drivers are really, really low on it. Tudor knows now that there's no breaking that DRS at this point. Both drivers on equal tires, about equal battery, and there's just not enough you can really do here. It's going to take a mighty mistake from Failer to make it work. Richie B, meanwhile, struggling to clear Leors, the Israeli driver. It's the battle for P11 in the background, but this battle for the race lead. You can hear a little bit of rear wheel spin on these guys up front. I think that's Tudor struggling a little bit, so as we're on lap 23, coming out of the castle section now. Yeah, Tudor's really struggling with the rear. Failer now within a half a second, looking to make the move possibly before the end of this lap. Can Failer retake the race lead that he gave up at the end of lap 2? So he hasn't led. He led the first 2 laps, and then pitted and said, all right, I'm doing a different strategy than everyone else, and now he's looking to retake it here on the run down to turn number 1 when it comes 3 to go.
Oh, yeah, we'll see. He's going to definitely be close to the gearbox. He's got a better exit, it looks like, out of the turn as well. And now DRS is going to be enabled. So Goat Tudor is just really clinging on by the skin of his teeth here. He's got 13%, but he's got no battery left on the outside. Jan Failer gets the move done down into turn 1. He reclaims the lead of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
Yes, the question is, was the move too soon? Can Tudor harvest enough battery, stay within DRS range, and make an attack towards the end of the race? Now, you see Failer used all of his battery. He's charging down the straight, but Tudor did not. Tudor saving his battery a little bit, possibly thinking this through. This is now mind games between these two guys, because if you're Failer, you probably want Tudor to overtake you at the end of this lap so you can be the one to overtake on lap 26 and possibly have the win, because it's not looking like either driver really was able to break DRS. I mean, it's so hard to break it around here when you guys are on equal pace. It just takes a mistake to really catch someone out. But meanwhile, we have a battle brewing for the final podium position. Daniel Rocker has caught up to Field Racing Seb. Rocker actually gapped Ripson and Minty, who are now 2.2 behind. So Rocker being very quick right now, trying to take a podium from the struggling Alpine up ahead. So Field Racing Seb really just hanging on to those tires for dear life. But speaking of hanging on, Failer is blitzing it. Tudor trying to hang on. You know, he's just under a second. He's going to need to nail turn 16 here. Can he nail it? He's going to use the battery. Failer, I think I saw that red light blink. Tudor blitzing the ERS. He's going to have the DRS on the straight, but his battery's also depleted. Both drivers running on fumes. Tudor will have DRS this lap, but he will not be close enough to make a move into turn number 1. The question is, how much will he be able to gain down the front straight without having that battery power? I mean, he's getting 3/10, 4/10, so he can get 4/10 down the main straight. So if he wants to make a last lap move, he's going to have to be within half a second down out of turn 16. 2 to go now. Coming out at turn number 2, our leaders flying right now ahead of the rest of the field after that safety car. Very, very good job by them. And now we'll see what they can do. In the background, meanwhile, our mate trying to overtake Rivershawn for P8. Going to look for the move into turn number 3. So we'll keep an eye on that battle. We'll also keep an eye on the battle. Daniel Rocker is just stuck behind Seb for the middle of the lap, but all eyes on the battle for the victory right now. We've got a lap and a half to go. It's going to be who can nail the castle section better and who can, you know, keep it going best. You can just hear, I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm hearing a lot of rear wheel spin coming out at turn number 7. You know, these guys trying to rotate the car as much as possible. Tudor, you can see oversteering just a little bit on exit of turn number 12, but he's still within that second margin that he needs. But he's not going to be close enough out of 16. I mean, Failer doing everything he can, using battery everywhere. You know, he's just trying. It looks like Failer is like just stronger on this from turns 10 through 15. Failer is definitely the faster driver of the two. Maybe running a little bit more downforce or something, but he's really blitzing it out of 12 and able to pull away a little bit through the triple left-hander. But Tudor's going to have DRS as they cross the line for the second to last time. We'll start the final lap here in Baku. It's been an amazing race so far. We've had a lot of issues between incidents and spinners. You know, it's time for no mistakes now. Tudor going a little deep into turn number 1, though. That's going to hurt his chances making a move this lap. Meanwhile, Daniel Rocker going around the outside of Field Racing Seb. That's easy as you'd like. The debutee currently up into 3rd place. Field Racing Seb down into 4th. Ripson also trying to capitalize off of Seb's ailingness in his old tires and hang on and possibly steal 4th position. But up at the front, Tudor 6/10 behind Jan Failer. He's doing everything he can. Failer's light is blinking like crazy. Tudor, though, does get a little bit of a recharge into the braking zone, so he's not really doing much better right now, Benny. His question is now through the castle section. This is where Jan is strong. Can Jan get enough of a gap on Tudor to hang on and win this race? It's going to be close. He didn't get as good of a run this time around.
No, it's usually around 8 to 9 tenths around this section, in this sector too. But Tudor's got it within 6 now. He's got to gain on him in these last 2 corners before the big straight, before the winding straight. It's 5 tenths of a second. As Tudor here just falling a little bit back. He's got to use everything he's got. Jan Fehler's charged up his battery as well. He's on 11%.
Oh, now Tudor's round. Oh, what is heart rake? Tudor looked like he had a chance to possibly steal it across the line, but he spun. He spun out of turn 16, put the power down too early, and lost the rear end. It is heartbreak, and that seals it. Jan Fehler on the dash to the line is going to win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Tudor should be far enough ahead of Daniel Rocker, and he will come home P2. So close yet so far. Daniel Rocker
5th though,
coming home in 3rd. Ripson though hangs on to 4th place. Seb down to 5th. Minty crossing home in 6th, hitting in with a quiet end of the race into 7th. Rivershan, he's got to defend from Armate. Armate going to the right-hand side of Armate. Takes 8th place as they cross the line. Gets up into 8th. Rivershan down to 9th. Tudor, or Richie B actually, going to come home in at 10th place. He was able to get Leors, who's hanging on to Kev Genetics right now. Kev must have had a spin or something that we missed towards the end of the race, as Richie B is going to come home in the points. But Kev's going to get Leors before the line for 11th place in Galaxy. Rounding out our finishers today.
How many line overtakes did we see there at the end? It must have been 3, but yeah, it was Ripson who got up to 4th position right at the very end. Remember, he was the one that spun as well, and he recovers to 4th, so that's going to be good points for him, 12 for him, because Tudor has got 26 with his win and the fastest lap, and I'll tell you what. I'm sorry, yeah, Fehler. And so I'll tell you what, that's going to level the championship points out.
That is very interesting indeed. There you have it. Jan Fehler, race winner here today. Tudor not able to get the traction he needed out of turn 16 to possibly be another overtake across the line. And rounding out our podium, Daniel Rocker with a strong debut performance here in tier number 1. There are your final results. Ripson coming home in 4th, beating out for your racing Seb to the line. Minty in 6th, Hittinen in 7th, Armate 8th, Rivershan 9th, and Richie B able to salvage a point this race, coming home in 10th. Fehler was able to keep the fastest lap, so that extra point's gonna be huge. But man, no penalties this race. That is huge as well. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the incidents and the race director, just to, in case anyone needs to use it for steward's inquiry. I mean, we do have to recall, Tudor had that incident with Kev Genetics, so he gets any kind of penalty.
Yeah.
It will display things, because he had that spin on the final corner. He lost 6 seconds of time at least. And those 6 seconds, that could be huge, because if he gets anything like a 5-second penalty, he's down all the way into 5th. So we'll have to see. We'll think it through now. We're gonna go ahead now and hang out and wait to see if we got any post-race interviews. But man, who was your driver of the day, Benny?
It's hard to say. There's been so many great drives, and I don't want to show bias towards the front of the field, but I am actually going to give it to Jan Fehler, because he pitted very, very early, and he had a really good strategy. I really want to give it to Tudor because he did have a good race, but he pitted very early, and he charged all the way back through the back of the field to come home in 1st place. So for me, it's got to be Jan Fehler.
Fehler is definitely a good choice. I think I'm going to go with Tudor because of the pace he showed on the hards at the start of the race. Remember, he was the only driver to start, or one of the only 2 drivers, to start on the hard tires, but he kept with the medium runners. You see the hard tire runners at the end there. They're just swallowed up by everyone on mediums. But he was able to keep with it, did not lose contact. And then on that second stint, he showed very, very strong pace. Over that course of that second stint, he benefited from Kev Genetics kind of slowing up everyone for a little bit. But, he wasn't faltering, and he had a great race up until turn 16, that last lap. So he's going to be my driver of the day. Now, we do have a couple post-race interviews. We're going to go ahead and bring in, I saw it's Richie and Tudor first, so we'll bring in each of the GOAT racing drivers in. Then we'll bring in Jan Fehler, and then we'll have a talk to Daniel Rocker. So we're going to go ahead and bring in Tudor first. Tudor, you were just so close there to winning the race, just lost the rear end coming out of 16. But before we hit that, talk us through the whole race as it went, like what was going through your head between strategy-wise and how it all played out.
Oh well, it all began lap one. I decided to start on the hards, knowing the field was so bunched up. I would take the pain early on, so then I could switch on the mediums to the end and be the fastest out there. It paid off as the safety car came out lap 11. I decided to box on mediums. Wasn't sure if the tires were gonna last till the end, but they lasted. Also in that first stint, I tried to keep my position P12, but I got overtaken by Ahmed, which in the end helped me because I was able to keep up with that part of the field, like P8, P9, P10, because I had DRS on Ahmed. Otherwise, I don't think I would have gotten DRS on Kev Genetics. So yeah, after the safety car came out, right after that, I just managed to pass Ahmed. I saw Fehler coming from behind, so I knew I had to pass Ahmed. Otherwise, I couldn't. I would have got eaten up by Fehler, and I didn't want that to happen. And then safety car come, I pitted for mediums. Me and Fehler were the only two guys at the front to pit for mediums. And then at the restart, I almost lost the restart. I didn't know Field Racing Seb was gonna go that quickly, but my low downforce setup paid off, and I managed to keep P3. And then going into turn 3, I was faster than Kev Genetics. I went down the inside. He squeezed me to the curb. I didn't want to go put a wheel on the curb because I know it is one of those ones higher up that you touch them and you spin. So I tried to not go on the curb. I still think I touched it, but nothing bad happened. To Kev, I don't know what happened there. He touched the wall, and I think he got damaged from there. After that, I don't know what happened to him. I just saw a 3-second gap to P3, and then I knew it was my race to win. Chased down Field Racing Seb, got ahead of him quickly, built a 1-second gap, and then it was all about looking top left corner to see the gap between me and Fehler, which it was the most stressful thing ever because he was inching closer and closer every turn. Besides the exit of the castle section, I had a really good run out of there, and I always gained on him. But in the end, yeah, I last lap I gave it everything. I was close. Out of the castle section, it was like 6/10, and I was like, oh, come on, I can do this. And then going into the quote-unquote final turn, because you don't count the rest of them because they're flat, I saw Fehler go on the curb and lose the back end a bit, and I knew that was my chance, and I got a bit too eager on the throttle pedal, and yeah. Still, I'm glad I could keep P2 at least, because guys behind were coming in fast. Thankfully, I had a gap, so yeah. P2 was a nice race, nice fight with Fehler at the end, and I hope I can continue fighting with him throughout the whole season, the rest of the races.
Yeah, definitely was a strong race for you. Benny, got any questions for Tudor here?
Yeah, so this victory, or not victory, but this podium, I should say, is going to really launch you up the standings. You had, I believe, just 8 points prior to coming into this, so you're going to be in the top half of the standings. We got, I believe it's Paul Richard next weekend. What are your plans for not only Paul Richard, but the rest of the season? Do you think that this is kind of now the pace that you can find is going to compete for podiums the whole rest of the way?
Yes, I believe that's at least what I'm aiming for. France and Austria, the two next tracks, are two of my best tracks. I've won at Austria in the previous 2 seasons of AOR, and France I won in another league. And then it's gonna Britain, not that good of a track for me. Hungary, that is also a strong track. Belgium, a strong track, and then I don't know, China I would say is another strong track for me. So I need to maximize what it is 3-4 tracks that I just named, and in rest, just try and aim for the podiums.
Well, we definitely look forward to it, and maybe another podium, maybe the race win for Paul Richard next weekend. He said it's a strong track. Showed a lot of great pace today. Certainly a lot to build on going into next week. Congratulations on the podium, Tudor. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to seeing you next weekend.
See you guys as well.
Yep. Good job, Tudor.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right.
That was Goat Tudor. Next in, we're going to bring in his teammate, Richie B. Richie B, it wasn't the race you were looking for, but you had a really good start. Talk us through what was going through your head after those first couple of laps.
Basically, shit was going through my head because I spun out and was at the back of the field. So then my race was really going nowhere, but the safety car helped me out.
Now, what was the reason you pitted towards the end there? Now, we noticed you pitted on the mediums with like 7 or 8 to go. You pitted out of P10. You were able to recover to it. Did you take damage there, or
yeah,
what happened?
I hit the wall in the castle section, so yeah, that's what happened.
Okay, that explains it. Because we saw on the racetrack that you had to change the wing. Unfortunate that you're only able to salvage P10. You had a very strong start to the race. Do you think that Paul Ricard next week will be a little bit better for you, or do you think it's going to be who knows kind of deal?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit better. It's not a track I really know, but yeah, I've been out of league racing for a little bit, and I started with these tracks like Monaco and Baku, which is not the best tracks to start on when you're not comfortable. So yeah, I think a track with a lot of runoff area will be better for me.
That's definitely good to hear. Benny, do you have any other things you would like to add and ask Richie B?
Just really good recovery drive. How did it? We didn't really have the camera on much of your rundown of 10th place. How did it feel with the softs on the two players in front of you? Could you tell that they were just graining so hard? Because it didn't look like the softs had much life around this track.
Yeah, true. I noticed that they pitted after the safety car to the softs, and it was really like still 13 laps to go. So I knew that was going to be a stretch for them and that their tires were going to drop off in the end. So I would gain a lot of time in the last few laps, which happened for P10 actually. So yeah, I was right about that.
Man, that was a pretty interesting end of the race. Now we do look forward to seeing you back on track next week. And Power Card doesn't have as many walls around it. I've heard that it's a lot harder to hit the walls there. I mean, I have no comment to that, but yeah, we look forward to seeing you next week when we go to France, and hopefully you'll be able to have a much better result than P10, and we look forward to seeing your Haas battling for some good points.
Yeah, thank you, and congrats to Tudor, my teammate, with the P2. He also really helped me in qualifying with a slipstream, so I could get P5. Otherwise, I would have been back in P8 or something. So good job to him and the P2 and the slipstream.
Yep, good job to Tudor, and thank you once again, Richie, and we'll catch you next week. Cheers.
Yep, thank you.
That was Richie B. Next up, we're going to go ahead and bring in our race winner, Jan Failer. Jan, you drove an absolutely brilliant race. You kind of got a little messed up by that safety car. What was going through your head when that came out?
I can't tell you that word by word right now, I think. But I was not happy because I just crossed the pit entry line, so I couldn't get into the pits in time. But then, since the safety car came out behind us, leading group, because of the safety car delta, it wasn't actually a problem in terms of losing positions if we pit a lap later than everybody else behind us. So that was fine. And then I thought, well, everybody's going to go on mediums now, so it's just a 14-lap sprint to the end, and as long as I have good pace and better pace than the others, which qualifying would have indicated, then there was no doubt that I have a chance to winning that one, even from P5 after the restart.
So,
go on, Benny.
Sorry, you pitted lap 3, I believe, to get off the softs. Was there just no confidence? Yeah, was it just no confidence in the softs, or in just the life of them, or why was the pit stop so early?
Because the mediums are just bang on. Like the perfect strategy would be medium, but that's obviously not allowed. So, and the mediums are actually like faster right from the get-go than those softs that you had in qualifying. the softs really are quick for like 2 laps, maybe 3. And since you have a quali lap, information lap on them, and then lap 1, that's 3 laps done already. So you basically start lap 2. Well, lap 2 basically is lap 4 on mediums, and that's where they start to go off. So I initially planned to pit actually lap 1 and jump on mediums.
Stop it.
But going into sector 3, I realized, well, I still have a lot of ERS, so I just stay out for another lap and use all my ERS, or well, lots of ERS,
Come here.
to not waste any. And then pitted lap 2, and I think that was the right decision, considering that Minty, who I think was behind me after Ripson spun, I think I had gapped to like 3 or 4 seconds after the pit stops, maybe even 5, not sure. And I still hadn't caught the traffic yet. So yeah, the undercut worked perfectly, and that was definitely the right decision today.
Yeah, that was what I was definitely going to ask, was how did that affect you, and did the traffic affect you too much? But I think the safety car kind of did damage limitation there for you. Next week we have Paul Ricard on the calendar. How are you feeling about the French track? Do you think you can get your 3rd race win of the season there, or it's not so sure?
Well, the truth is I don't really like that circuit, but the truth is also that I don't really like Baku, and I won today, so nothing speaks against winning in France again, right? We'll see. I hope for the best, you know. Of course, I'm aiming to get another win on the board, and then maybe get a bit of a lead in the championship now. I think am I leading the championship now? Not sure, actually.
On countback, yes. You're level on points with Ripson, and you're leading on countback because you have 2 race wins and he has 1.
Ah, perfect. Yeah. So yeah, it's all about extending that gap now, of course. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that cluster of European races now, which is always the best part of the calendar anyway. Well, minus Brazil, of course, but that's season finale as it should be. So yeah, looking forward to the next races. And France, well, yeah, we'll get it over with.
Well, we are definitely looking forward to it too, because you brought the fireworks today, led the first 2 laps, and then like the last 3. So congratulations on another race victory this season, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Hey, maybe you'll get the 3rd race win of the season. Who knows? But thank you for joining us here today and providing plenty of entertainment. Jan, it's always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for commentating.
Of course, anytime. Cheers, and have a safe and happy rest of your week and a wonderful night.
Yeah, you too. Like both of you. True. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. That was Jan Fehler. We got one more interview. It is our debut driver, Daniel Rocker. Daniel, you had an absolutely fantastic first race of the season, coming home on the podium. You know, did you think you would do that well today, or is it just like, you know, everything falling your way?
A bit of both, probably. But yeah, yeah, thank you for commentating. Thank you to let me race here. And yeah, I expected some points, but yeah, you never know in Baku. The walls are pretty close, so yeah.
Now, I mean, you showed some really good qualifying pace, but then going through, especially before the safety car, you weren't really like looking at a podium spot. You're a little farther back. Did you just feel more confident on those medium tires at that end of the race, or well, like what was going through your head? Because you had some good pace there, but at the same time, you know, what was going through your head?
Yeah, I was just saving some. Because I started before, then I had a bit of a delayed start, so I lost the position. And from there, I was while running at P5, and then I had quite good pace on the mediums. I think I was net P3 because somebody spun. But again, there were many people still out on the mediums, so wasn't looking good. And then the safety car was a surprise, and then I had to overtake some cars, and yeah. I think I was all the time pretty close or somewhere around P4, P3.
Yeah, very nice. Benny, do you got any questions to ask our final podium sitter here today?
Is there any tracks coming up in this season that you're maybe looking forward to? Because if you can get a seat for them, or was this kind of like one of your more favorite tracks today in Baku?
Not really my favorite track. But I don't really know the whole calendar. I just know it's France, and then I think it's Spielberg at some point. If it's Spielberg at some point, I'm looking for that track, or maybe Monza. But I'm not sure about the calendar. I just hopped in today to fill in the spot. Yeah.
Yep, so Daniel, we do look forward to seeing you back once again on track. Congratulations on that podium here today. A fantastic drive. I mean, that final stint, you were way quicker than the cars behind. You were able to really maximize your position today, and we look forward to seeing you on track as soon as possible because you brought the fire today. Have a safe and happy rest of your weekend, and you know, we look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, bye-bye. Thank you.
Cheers. So that was our final interview for today. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Benny, you got any closing remarks you want to make today?
No, this is an absolutely fantastic race. Big thank you to all the drivers, and also there, Fizzy. Big thank you to all of our wonderful sponsors who help bring this action to you. First of which is Elgato. You can check out, they have a wonderful stream deck you can buy that will just take your stream to the next level. Check them out at elgato.com for more information. Driver 61 Sim Racing Academy. It is a racing academy that you could use to just up your game. You get 25% off a free consultation session and a free coach, or 25% off, I should say, a consultation session and a free coaching session when you use code AOR Driver 61. They offer classes that fit your schedule as well as training programs that fit your needs and your budget. Definitely want to check them out. It is driver61.com/sim-racing/D61-sim-racing-academy. And then lastly, SIMSOK, our wonderful sponsor, SIMSOK, the first of a kind in sim racing. It's a sock that has a cushioned heel for comfort during endurance racing events if you do any 100% races, breathable panels, arch support, cool max yarn that wicks away moisture, and strategically placed unique grips that mean there are no more feet slipping off of your pedals. Check them out at SIMSOK, that's SIMSOK.com.
I could not have said it better myself. Thank you to our sponsors once again, and thank you to all the viewers who came in and tuned in here today. We brought you some fantastic action here in Baku for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. We got more action coming to you guys later tonight in the form of the America's F1 League. We'll be back at Baku tonight later on. We got some more action in the upcoming week. The Assetto Corsa Competizione leagues have started up once again, so tomorrow on the AOR channel we have our very, very popular Tier 1 action, and then on Tuesday we have Tier 2 action, so plenty of racing content coming up this week. We do have more project cars and I believe iRacing content as well. Not 100% on that, but just keep an eye on the AOR YouTube. And then next Sunday we'll be back here in the commentary booth here for the French Grand Prix. It'll be round number 5. We'll see if we can get a 4th race winner, if we can get a second, someone win their 2nd race of the season, or in the form of Jan Fehler winning his 3rd. Plenty to play for. Championship's really close. It is tied, and we look forward to seeing you guys here once again in a week's time. Hope everyone viewing today has a happy, safe, and healthy rest of your weekend, and we will see you guys next week here on the AOR YouTube.